Okay, well, hi everyone. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartree here today with another episode of Presenting Champions for the Simply Inspired podcast. Today, joined by professional bull rider Ty Timmons. Now, today we're going to be taking a look inside the world of bull riding. The time on the bull has been described as the most dangerous 8 seconds in sports. So today, as well as talking about Ty's achievements, we're also going to be delving a little bit deeper into the mindset that it takes to take part in one of the toughest and most dangerous sports on earth, but also one of the most exciting and enthralling sports on earth. So, Ty, thank you very much for taking time out of your morning for this. Very grateful for that. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this and share my story, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited.
Absolutely, yeah, going to be amazing. So, I think what we'll do now with this, there's some people going to be watching this who know all about bull riding. There's going to be some people
Mhm.
watching this where it's sort of new for them as well,
Yeah.
especially over where I am in the UK and Europe. So we'll try and tackle both. Now, when it comes back to your beginnings in the sport, what was your sporting background before bull riding, and how did you actually start with bull riding? Just to get a feel for, your early years, your upbringing, and what sports you were involved in there, please.
Well, it all started when I lived in California was a kid. My mom was in the Air Force, so we were moving around all the time, and we ended up in Sacramento, California, and that is when my dad first started riding professionally, um, and stuff. He started entering into more professional rodeos, and so we would go to all these professional rodeos with them. And as I got older and things like that, I started to get an interest in bull riding and the excitement of it and all that kind of good stuff. So what my dad did, he started, he put me on some sheep and stuff. So I started riding sheep when I was a kid, and then gradually moved up to calves as I got older. And then I took a break for a little while, for about 15 years, and then started again recently about 5 years ago.
Wow, okay, so that was where it all started. Your dad, the inspiration. That's
Yep.
amazing. Obviously being out of the game for a little while, were you doing any other sports during that time, or were you just away from everything, focusing on work, education, that type of thing, or were you doing any other types of sports during that 15 years?
Um, I mean, I was playing baseball, football. I wrestled for about 5 years. Um, but yeah, mostly football and baseball throughout those 15 years. And then I took a break from sports for about 3 years or so while I was on active duty, and then started riding again.
Yeah, makes sense. I had a feeling there was some other type of sports there was my reason for
Mm.
asking. So in terms of the inspiration getting back into bull riding, you've been away from it for a while. So what lit the fire inside you to say, okay, I want to get back in there and do some more of this?
So it's actually a funny story of how that all happened. Um, I was active duty in the Marine Corps, and I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and we was out there with my buddies and stuff like that. And there was a bull riding affair that was coming to a town that was about a half hour north of us. And we were friends with this guy from New York who's never been to a bull ride, never been to a rodeo day in his life. So we try to come up with this plan to get him to go and just experience it. He ended up flaking on us the last minute, but we still went up there, and we got to the rodeo. I was watching the bull riding and stuff, and I don't know, just something. As soon as the latch opened and the bull came out in the arena and things like that, something just clicked inside of me where it was like, yeah, I need to go back to doing this. I want to ride bulls again, and that's where it started. That's where the fire came back, and we took it from there. Went to a couple schools, and then just kept going.
Absolutely. Well as that, when we look back, because we look, as I said, at the past, we look at the future as well in a moment. But when we look
Mhm.
back at those 5 years, I mean, I was looking on your Facebook page earlier and the videos on there, absolutely wild, man. I mean, you've been busy. So what I was
Yeah.
thinking, a way to condense this down a little bit, is to talk about some of your favorite competitions during that time, some of your proudest moments, the ones that stand out to you. And I love asking this question of people because usually the ones that come back, it's not always the ones you'd expect, if you get what I mean, or what's the most special to that
Yeah.
person. So, in terms of your what you regard to be your personal highlights so far, could we have a handful of those, please?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. So probably my very first personal highlight that I would say is about 6 months or so into my riding. I was at a rodeo and I covered my first bull for the full 8 seconds. And that moment since then, I mean, it's stuck out to me, and it's a ride that I'll always remember. Um, and then a second incident that really sticks out to me that I'm kind of proud of would be the time I came back from being out for 6 months from a lacerated liver. Uh, Rode my first bull back, and that it was a huge milestone. Just not in the physical aspect of it, but in the mental aspect of it as well. It was a pretty big milestone. And then my very first PBR up in Montana. I remember traveling up there with my buddies, and it was a great weekend. Rode in two PBR events that weekend, and I mean, just probably those big three, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing to hear the inside track on that because there's bound to be so many, but the ones that matter most to you, that is incredible. Now, another thing, when you came back into this after the 15 years out and everything like that, did you have the expectations at that time, to get into the PBR and to reach sort of the higher level that you're at now? Or were you sort of taking it one step at a time when you first got back into it and just sort of seeing how it went type of thing?
I knew from about the time I was a kid that I wanted to ride in the PBR,
Mm.
and that has always been a goal of mine. And so I knew when I started riding again that I was going to do anything and everything that I could to reach, and achieve my goal. So from the very first time that I got to the school and the first bowl that I got on, up until now, my goal has always been ride into PBR and try to stay, you know, in the tour standings, and try to get to the Unleash the Beast tour and things like that. But since day one, I would definitely say it's been full steam ahead, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it shows people the importance of goal setting and everything in chasing your dream
Hmm.
in life, doesn't it? Any type of dream that people are pursuing. And you also mentioned there about the mental aspect as well of bull riding and doing what you do.
Hmm.
That is something that really fascinates me because well, you have to be very, very brave. I mean, and not being funny, but like having balls of steel, I think is pretty much sums up the mentality you have to do that.
Yeah.
And I know you've been doing it obviously for a few years now, but on the build up or right before a competition or whatever, what is going through your mind? How do you mentally prepare for something like that? Even though you love it, there's got to be a process that you go through.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a mental battle before each and every event, and the guys that are out there saying that they're not like that, I mean, that's not the truth, because we're talking about something that's life or death here. Uh, 1 inch can make a difference in whether you live, whether you get really hurt and stuff. So it's a really big mental prep and a mental battle before the event. What I usually like to do is I would start out, the day of the event the exact same. I would wake up, have my coffee, have a good breakfast that morning, and kind of take it easy throughout the day. Kind of relax a little bit, unwind, not really think too much of the event itself. And then usually once I get to the event, I mean, the nerves are still there and everything, but once I get back behind the buck and shoots and I'm getting my stuff ready, I'm warming up my rope, talking to all my buddies and stuff back there, the nerves kind of settle down and things. And then what I like to do is I would usually go out and find my bull and then usually get acquainted with him, hang out with him for a second, pray over him for his safety and things like that. And then just take a deep breath and go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, as I said, the courage and everything that it takes to do what you do. Absolutely, massive respect for it, really. I mean, that's all I can say with that. And another thing with the mental side of it as well, when you're actually on the bull and he's trying to throw you off and it's all happening
Hmm.
for that 8 seconds or however long it is, during that time, is anything going through your mind in particular, or are you literally just focused on, focusing through everything and focused on staying on top of him, if you get what I mean?
Oh gosh, I mean, I wish I had the time to think on the back of a bull, because a lot of it, people say it's poetry in motion, and you take it jump for jump, and it's like the bull is your dancing partner. You don't want to beat him. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to go too slow. You want to match him step for step. Um, so there's really no time to think. It's more of a reaction to what the bull is doing and trusting in your fundamentals and your mechanics and really your ability to be the best and your ability to ride that bull. And that's really all you focus on. There's really no time to think.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense because it's so fast and everything. But I was just curious because that's the one of the things people don't see, isn't it? They see the actual ride, the competition, but they don't see what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in your mind. On the subject of that as well, I mean, very, very tough sport at the end of the day, I'd imagine in all competitions. But are there certain ones that stand out for you as being like the toughest competitions of your career, in for any particular reason, whether it's the bull themselves, or even sometimes when I ask this of people, it can be something going on in your life outside of riding. You have to
Mm-hmm.
focus on that to compete. It comes in different ways, but you mentioned the liver and and coming back from that, and that was what made me think of, are there
Mm-hmm.
any other really tough moments that you've overcome,
Um, no, I think really the lacerated liver, my second year riding is probably the biggest thing that I've had to overcome. Um, just because it was a huge mental toll
Mm.
that I had to overcome. Not so much physical. I was healthy enough. I believed in my ability, but mentally wise, it was the biggest thing. And event wise, I'd probably say any of the PBR events. I mean, the bowl caliber up there is the best in the world. Those bulls are hand selected to go to those events, and they're only going to pick the biggest and the best bulls that they can bring to those events to put on the best shows, for everybody. So I'll definitely say those two things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I thought it might be, but with in terms of PBI, I thought it might be, but at the same time, it's worth asking because you never know. Now, in terms
Hmm.
of other things with this as well. Now, you mentioned earlier about your friend from New York who had never been to any type
Hmm.
of riding or rodeo event or whatever. And if you had to describe it to somebody who hasn't been there, because bear in mind where I am in the UK and everything and Europe, it's not as big here, and it's going to be a source of fascination for people. So with this, I'm talking about the energy, I'm talking about the vibe and everything because it seems absolutely electric. But how would
Hmm.
you describe that in your own words?
Chills. If you could take 7,000 people and put them in one room with one of the most wildest and dangerous animals on the face of the planet and put them in a ring together and strap somebody to their back and have amazing music and stuff like that going on in the background. I mean, chills. I did a rodeo this past weekend, and I mean, it's probably one of the best rodeos I've done this year. I would definitely say they had, the entire arena set up. They had stands that had, 7, 8,000 people in it. In the background, they had hot air balloons that, was getting lit up. They had fireworks. They had all that kind of stuff. The atmosphere is so lively. It's a thrill. You're on the edge of your seat. I mean, the entire show because it's not a planned event. It's not rehearsed. It's all, anything and everything could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said at the beginning, for some people who know all about it, some people who don't, that's definitely something for people who are new. Because I remember the first time I saw it, just the awe of, that moment of like, oh my God, there's people actually
Mhm.
doing this, it stays with you. So that sort of hopefully will encourage other people to have that moment. Now, there's another thing about this that I think is a sort of mental lesson that people can pick up on that you will have to apply. And that's obviously staying calm. Because, and what I mean by this is, even though we talked earlier about the build up to it and everything like this, you have to stay calm in other situations. I mean, I saw one video where towards the end of it, you came off the bull and it looked like he stepped on you a bit and everything, and then you sort of got out from underneath. And in that situation, obviously you can't panic and you can't sort
Yeah.
of lose your cool. So I'm also curious how you do that as well, because a lot of people would freak out in that situation, myself included, I'm sure. But you keep your cool. Is that something you train your mind to do?
Yeah, it is. It is, especially in those incidences where you get hung up on a bull and you're out there, you can't get your hand out of the rope, and the bullfighters are doing absolutely everything they can to get your hand out of the rope. At that point, you have two options. Mentally wise, you could either, get the courage and stand up on your feet and try to get your hand out, or you could just lay there and decide not to fight against it and take whatever comes. So a lot of it is something you got to learn and something you have to build up. You're definitely not going to have that mental toughness and that mental preparedness right out the get go.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that I'd imagine has to be conditioned, and you've got other things like being like the Marines and everything. I mean, I'm sure that all helps with the mental toughness. But yeah, it's something that really fascinates me, the mental edge. So very, very cool. Now we've talked obviously about some of your past competitions and different things, but in terms of the future and in terms of like what you're aiming for from this point forward, I don't mind how far ahead you want to go or how close to now, I mean, it's up to you, but just to get a feel for your dreams and goals from this point forward, basically.
So uh, I have some goals written down that I want to achieve in this next season. With we're coming up to the end of the season and everything. The PR Velocity Tour starts back up this winter. The actual season does. My short term goal with that is I would like to make the Velocity Tour finals and things like that. And then obviously my long term goal is definitely going to be to make it onto that Unleash the Beast tour, the top tier of the PBR, where you're riding with the best of the best, the top 35 guys in the world and the top 35 bulls in the world. And that's the goal. That's where I want to be in the next 2 or 3 years. I would like to be on that stage.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, what I will say is when you get there, and I've got no doubt you will, we can always do an update of this. We can do like a part two or something and update everybody on how things are
Uh,
going.
yeah,
Yeah, that'll be good. Um,
yeah. I'm all the
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. That'd be awesome because I still think with yourself, the best is yet to come.
hmm
I think the best is yet to come in the future's very, very bright. So that's one thing there. Now, a couple of other things before we finish up though. Obviously, we focused on yourself and your achievements, and we spoke about your father and his riding as well. But in terms of other people who've helped you along the way and contributed to your journey in some way, in whether it's encouragement, whether it's advice, whether it's practical,
yeah.
some form of sponsorship. I don't mind what it comes in, but just anybody you'd like to thank, basically, is what I'm getting at with this one.
Well, I mean, I got a couple guys, that come to mind that really have helped me and shaped me into the rider that I am today, and have definitely helped me progress. And I know they're going to continue to help me progress as the years go on. Um, just some that come to mind. My buddy Casey Coulter, he's helped me out a ton. Keith Hall, he's done a bunch for me. He's shown me a lot of stuff. Kyle Jones is another one. He's another good one that I appreciate a lot. He's given me more of that mental aspect, and he's definitely helped me on that my mental side of things. And then just a good buddy of mine, Buddy Asher, who is just, I mean, down to earth and will always go to bat for you no matter what, and is always in your corner. Those are just some of the guys that come to mind that have definitely helped me out and given me the best tools for my tool belt that I can use to go out there and try to win these events. Um, and yeah, of course, my dad. My dad's done a bunch, and has helped me out a lot. And the I would say the school that got everything started, 5 years ago. Letter Buck out in Virginia. It's a little backyard school and stuff. I went up to that school twice, and they've helped a lot. So I would like to just appreciate those guys and give thanks to them, and yeah, I'm excited to see where everything goes with all of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's great to give them a mention as well because I always say there's a lot of people helping athletes
Hmm.
behind the scenes, and you're all in life together, but from the outside looking in, they don't get the credit. I think we need to give a word to your fans as well and people who watch and support you in that way, attending events or on social media or whatever form they come in, your spectators. I think we need to give them a mention as well.
Oh, I mean, they're awesome. Every weekend, they're electrifying. They're always standing on their feet, having a great time. The kids are probably one of the best uh, things I would say about not in like a weird way or anything like that, but more of a sense of fan wise of coming up and asking for autographs, asking for pictures and things like that because they are the next generation of the sport. And if we don't have athletes at the top of the sport willing to help the next generation, then there isn't going to be a next generation. So it's super important, and it's something that I take value to, and that I take pride in. It is showing and helping the next generation, and kind of guiding and mentoring and coaching them, and they are some of the biggest and the greatest fans out there, and I appreciate every single one of them.
Absolutely, yeah. As you say, well, I couldn't have put it better myself. Absolutely, the lifeblood of the sport and everything of that nature. Last couple of things then. One of the other things I want to mention, we've got a few really good tips here about the mentality and the mental toughness and things. And as well as bull riding, they're things that people can use for life, which is a big part of why I do these interviews. Do you have any other advice that you'd like to share for people who want to chase a big dream or goal in life? Obviously, if you have any advice for young bull riders, that would be great. But if there's anything more universal than that for anybody who wants to pursue something and they have to overcome that barrier of the nerves and they have to overcome that barrier of these things as you have, if you get what I mean with this one, just advice
Yeah,
for them really.
I got a couple. I would say the number one thing is being determined and being resilient. You're going to come to a lot of boundaries, a lot of water crossings that you're going to have to go through, a lot of issues, a lot of things that are going to want to take you off of that path to get to the goal you want to get to. And I always say, hey, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, keep your head down, and keep on trucking. One day you're going to get there. It may take one person 1 month, and it may take you 1 year, but if you keep going, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're going to reach that goal. With bull riding, the biggest one that I always tell everybody is there's always going to be another bull. And get on as many bulls as you can get on. There's never enough bulls to get on. Um, and just keep getting on. You're gonna get bucked off. It's impossible to ride every single bull. You're talking some of the best guys in the world have a riding percentage of 40 or 50%. So you're gonna get bucked off. It's gonna happen. Have a short memory and get back up and get at it again. Get on another one and keep going. Keep your chin down and just have fun.
Absolutely. Well, some solid advice there for both sides, for people in life in general, bull riders as well. I think pretty much the last thing to give a mention to is obviously anyone who is hearing your story for the first time. Now, obviously, some people have been following you for quite a while, and we've given them a mention. But for the new people, how can they sort of connect with you on social media, find out more about what you're doing? You just need to give yourself a plug, basically, at this point.
But you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Ty Timmons PR, and then I still have a Facebook page as well, Timmons, and to just Ty Timmons. So you guys can go ahead and follow, add, subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't be afraid to reach out. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a message. I'll answer every single one of them.
Absolutely. Brilliant. It's great to know that people can reach out in that way, and I know you've got the time for the fans. You're very down to earth in that way. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. As I mentioned, taking time out of your morning to do this, and I'm happy because
Mm-hmm.
we've got a nice mix of like the fun stories, but then we've gone a little bit deeper as well into the mental side
Yeah.
and people don't see. I What I said earlier, I mean what I said. If you want to do a part two down the road, when you're at an even higher level again, we'll do that. But for now, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day. And as soon as this is released, I'll send it to you so you can see how it's come out. You can use that anywhere you'd like to use it for your own promo as well. Obviously, I'll release it my side, and we'll just keep in touch after that, to be honest.
Hey, yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me, man. I'll definitely be in touch though.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime. Sounds good. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.